Hello everybody and welcome in to Koffee with Tia, episode 6, a TProductions special, a talk show where we get up close and personal with Second Life talents and creators. I'm your host Tia Merchant, and in today's show we have a special guest on board with us, a passionate photographer, a diligent creator, a gregarious persona. This man needs no introduction. My Second Lifers, please join me in welcoming Mr. patchlinden, Vice President of Product Operations at Second Life Linden Labs. Hello and welcome, Patch, to Koffee with Tia. It is our absolute honor to have you on board with us today. We hope you like this special setup we designed for you here.
Hello, and thank you for having me. I'm glad I could be here today. It's very cool looking. I was actually just kind of cameraing around looking at it, and it's nice. I love the logo usage and stuff, and the wall treatments and everything. It's pretty sharp.
Thank you. All these brands are our sponsors and also are very curious for your interview today, as well as very eager to have you on board with us.
I think I probably own something from all of them, if not more.
They are indeed very reputed brands and events, providing exceptional quality and services to all the residents. So Patch, are you a fan of coffees or teas or any other hot beverages you prefer?
I actually will do either, but mostly coffee. Yeah, it's got to be the first thing that happens when I get up in the morning is got to have at least 2 cups of coffee.
Let's share our coffee and get this interview started with you, Patch. Let's start off very chill and breezy with you. Let's warm up. So please talk to us about your journey into Second Life and how has the perception of Second Life changed over the years as a resident and later as a Linden, please.
Oh gosh, wow. So a long time ago, it seems like now at this point. And legitimately, you know, we're coming up on 20 years ago. I remember I was driving around somewhere in the car and I heard something about this new thing kind of getting started. The radio talk show host described this virtual world as this amazing place you could go and be yourself, and the thing that enamored him the most was that you could fly, right? Your avatar could fly. And I said, well, that sounds pretty cool. The way he described it and everything is kind of an open sandbox world. It was a show about video gaming and such. And I don't remember. It was a long time ago now who was actually hosting it, but he just the way he described it and stuff caught enough of my attention to actually go find it, sign up for an account and check it out. Kind of where I got my start as a resident. I came in and started to kind of look around and explore. Initially wasn't too sure of what to make of it, and I think that's a problem that exists traditionally for many people when they initially come into Second Life. They're not quite sure what to do. I very quickly discovered content build things. One of the things that I feel like Second Life did for many people, especially back then, kind of put a tool set in people's hands that they had never really realized before or seen or had in their hands and possession, and that was 3D content creation tools. So kind of democratized being able to easily create 3D content. That I taught myself various types of content creation, ranging from building buildings to making clothing. As I kind of dug in, learned, and got more experience over time, I created a set of brands that were unique and original to Second Life. The most well-known brand that I had was clothing fashion design place for guys. I became the 3rd largest guys clothing designer on the grid. I didn't learn that until after I became a Linden to understand where I was positionally. I was also featured in some various write-ups and articles about being one of the first actual brands that was formed 100% virtually as a business. I was able to kind of tuck those credits in my back pocket, and on top of that, I loved learning and I loved teaching. And so as a resident, I felt like kind of part of what I wanted to give to the community, to share what I learned, spread that knowledge around. And I worked with a lot of and quite a few popular content creators who are even still around today that actually maintain a presence on the grid, some pretty big brands. Back then, we're really small, along with like myself, and grew to get bigger. We all kind of worked together. We all built our brands, and we all had our various directions and styles. Point had gotten large enough to get recognition, Linden Lab. And Linden Lab approached me and asked if I wanted to come and work for them in 2007. They saw a great job I was doing with, not just my brand, but my business and how I handled my customers. I was a mentor, and I love helping residents. So I spent a lot of time doing mentor work, onboarding them and helping them find their way. So I guess they noticed. And as a matter of fact, 𝐿𝐸 Linden and Mick Linden back in the day were around, who reached out to me initially. And so I thought about it a little bit, didn't wait too long, said, yeah, hey, I'm interested. And it's kind of history. I became a Linden in customer support, and I worked my way up through the support team, on to product, which differs from product operations. And then I moved back into customer support, and then I took over our product operations team, which actually housed all of customer support and product operations. And the way the two differ is customer support takes care of all of your kind of front-facing needs as a resident. If you need help, count, or you're having an issue, region, or anything of that nature, you come in and you talk to one of the teams, as well as governance. That's all kind of within support. And then product operations handles everything that happens on the grid on kind of a day-to-day or ongoing daily basis, including having our content creation team stationed within that department. And so when you put both departments together with everybody involved, I actually have one of the largest departments in the company. Over time, one thing that I have always tried to maintain, pull into myself as near and dear as possible with every decision that I make, is putting myself in the resident's shoes. I had a lot of experience. I continue to foster that experience and spend a ton of time in the world. As many people know, you see me out and about, fairly involved with a lot of things going on in the community. You see me everywhere from, at shopping events to things like Second Life birthday, various relay events for American Cancer Society. I love to spend a lot of time in world and get to know people, socialize with them. The transition from becoming a Linden from a resident, there are some things that have probably changed over time, but I like to try to remain as core to what brought me here in the first place, and that was being a resident first. I don't think of it commonly or frequently in the sense that, it's like one against the other. I try to kind of keep them together so that it empowers me to be able to make decisions that are meaningful for Second Life in that capacity.
Well, thank you, Patch, for sharing with us your journey so far. It's been quite an exceptional one, I must say. And I'm glad that Linden Labs spotted a gem out there. Now, I truly love the idea that you give back to the community, give back to the grid, and you still hold your place as a Second Life resident. And I think that's why the Second Life residents can connect with you. I think they really relate to you, learning about how you got into being a Linden and learning about the different functionalities of Linden Labs and what areas you take care of. It's very, very commendable what you do, Patch. And
yes,
we also really eagerly look out for any announcement made by you and any new product development and changes run and being announced on the Second Life grid. I think that's like a wee little Christmas surprise for all of us here. That's how we have it.
I absolutely love it. I love what I do. Day in and day out, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
That's wonderful to hear, Patch. You also pointed out about the community spirit on Second Life and also being one of the first virtual brands to actually establish as a business. Talk to us about your brand. Do you still have it? How do you do we still get to see your brand anywhere?
I do. It's so right around the time and probably about a year after, so sometime around 2008 is when I kind of attribute the fact that my brand was kind of officially mothballed. The things that 𝐿𝐸 and Mick, and 𝐿𝐸 most importantly, imparted on me with like some words of wisdom from her, being that she also came from being a resident first, very early on, even before me. You'll at some point kind of hit a decision where you have to decide where you're going to invest your time. Are you going to my position with Linden Labs secondary to what I do with my resident, or is it going to be first? She said that for her, the best choice she ever made was putting Linden Lab and Second Life, what she was doing at that time, first. And so I took that to heart too. And so that's kind of what I did. So after I was hired in 2007, I think I did a couple more like clothing releases, right? Because as you know, in the sphere of clothing designers and such, you have to kind of release regularly regularly to stay relevant and kind of continue to update your brand and, turn out new product to keep people interested. I was very much in that swing, like where every month I was turning out a new release and such. And as 2007 into 2008 kind of wore on, I was finding myself investment in time was definitely shifting and changing into being patchlinden and less my resident. So it was around that time that, I started to back off and slow down and stopped eventually doing new product releases. And with that, my brand basically, went kind of quiet. It's still there. My store is still there. It's kind of a shrine, in my opinion, to, what I had accomplished back then and in the past and everything it stood for. Certainly not undiscoverable. By no means is there anything up to date. In fact, I think one of the last new releases I did was pretty fancy polo shirt type of a setup and such with sculpty collars, because that was all the rage at that time, was adding, like sculpt attachments to like accent particular clothing features. So that was kind of the last meaningful work that I did. And of course that was before mesh. So a lot of my stuff is also pre-mesh.
I think we have to agree that pre-mesh, we loved our pre-mesh days, those flexi hair days as well. And when you had flexi clothing, I still love them. I still enjoy a bit of swirling and twirling around here and there. Mesh is a big thing. When mesh did come in, I think a lot of things changed. Everything turned around for creators, residents. And so given the opportunity, would you advance your brand in the future, given that you have a bit more space, a bit more room for flexibility to concentrate on being a creator again? Would you like to take that leap? Would you be interested in making something in mesh for your brand then?
If I had time in the future, absolutely. I would jump back in 2 feet and reinvigorate it, bring it back to the forefront, which I know will take work, right? It always takes work. It takes time. You have to build and build and build. It's kind of relentless in a sense, but that's business, right? I almost can't look around at any particular business that has been, built as meaningful and successful, do well. You have to invest in it and put time in it and build it up and such. And I would very much see that as, it would almost be like starting over. Other than the fact that people with long memories and have been around for a while will go, oh my gosh, I remember this, right? And I remember back from that particular point in time. Sometimes I'll call out a couple of the brands that I had surrounded myself with and worked with and helped and stuff, and that's like LaPointe and Basschild, Truth, and a few others came from that time and era where kind of in that same sphere of time when we got started. Certainly enjoyed our successes and such, coming up to that point, and then when I made my change, that's when I kind of made the decision I did to be patchlinden.
Well, that sounds very promising. I think given a bit of a time and room in schedule, I think Patch, you would do wonders once again, and we would love to see your brand thrive back again. I think tapping back into your creator mode as well, I think you're going to have fully as much fun as well. What's your brand called, please? May I ask?
I generally don't disclose that, because if I do, then everyone will not only know it, but they'll also know who my resident alt is. Prefer to keep that under wraps. Even with that said, I do get to explore and or get my creative swing on with my team and the moles and the LDPW. While I'm not necessarily like flexing my own creative muscles, and I may not dive into Maya or Blender myself right now, I get to have them do it with me and get my fix that way.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's very interesting to know as well, and I totally respect you, for keeping your brand under the wraps. But good luck with whenever you start your brand. We would love to see any of it in the future if you do.
Thank you.
So let's dive deep into the aspects of your job as a as a linden. Sorry about that.
Yes.
As a linden. Tell me, what do you enjoy most as a linden, and also any stories that you have for us in your years so far that has been stuck with you forever now?
Oh my gosh, so many stories and such that have happened over the years. This is the first time in my life that I have actually been involved with something like Second Life, of course, and that in and of itself has has now been going on for so long that I'm getting ready to bridge the 2-decade time frame of 20 years and having been involved with Second Life. And with that, it also comes with knowing so many of you folks in residence. There's this other side that a lot of people don't think about, and it's actually a little sad in the fact that, you know, because we have been around this for so long and we know and have such a big sphere of people we tend to know because of, you know, the type of exposure and socialization and such that Second Life brings to the table for all of us, people pass on. I actually just had this past week, I learned that somebody who not only was very close to us and many of us as Lindens, but also me personally, had passed away. That I had also, before knowing her, knew her mother. And her mother, I knew from even 15 years before that, had unfortunately passed away 10 years prior. So it kind of hit me all just this past week of, oh my gosh, I've been doing this for so long that I have been involved with and touched by so many wonderful people in this thing we call Second Life, that I have now seen generations in the sense of families pass on. And it's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it from that perspective of how big of a thing this is and how many people are involved and the human aspect of everything behind it. Oh my gosh. And the stories that can kind of come from all of those experiences are amazing. And I fondly remember her mother absolutely loved us and the team, and she was one of the few residents who actually send every year candied apples to the office for the team to enjoy around the holidays. It's experiences like that you can't get anywhere else unless it's, you know, like from family and friends. And here's somebody on the other side of the world I've never met in person that I only knew through this connection in Second Life. And granted, that connection to be a friendship and was very strong, but only remained in Second Life. And here she was doing things like that, and she passed away, and we got and met her daughter, and then unfortunately she just passed away too. It's mind expanding, right? The other stories and such, like I said, there's so many. Oh gosh, I don't know what to pick. And if I ramble on too long, please stop me and let me know. But you know,
You're free to patch, no worries at all.
Okay, I remember, oh my gosh, I remember the days when, you know, we were going through Havoc's upgrades and changes and, you know, work on the physics engine, you know, that underpins, you know, things like gravity within Second Life. A lot of people probably remember, you know, a particular popular product that was probably kind of one of the starting breedable products that got really popular on the grid back in the day, and they were chickens, right? Everybody remembers the breedable chickens, you know, and they were a particular brand. I remember very fondly that we had rolled out an update to the physics engine, to Havoc, and people were suddenly calling into support left and right. The way the chickens, from what I remember, would walk would actually cause things like regions to crash. The mayhem that created in a day's time, kind of tragic and interesting all at the same time, because, you know, who would have ever thought breedable chickens walking across a region could actually just crash the region? You know, we have a lot of things like that happen. Yeah, that's probably one of the more fond ones. Another one is, you know, there was a breedable horse type similarly that would actually poop. And when the poop would roll down terrain in a certain way and hit the bottom of like a valley, it would actually cause a region to crash. That was another funny one. Happened around that time and out of that.
Oh wow, is that actually real? That's what happened?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And then, you know, and being in support, of course, right? You know, you hear it all, you see it all, and, you know, there's probably has happened to all of us in support at some point in time where, you know, somebody calls you up, comes into live chat, and they say, hey, you know, I'm having this really weird issue, you know, this, that, and the other, and you kind of go back, you know, and forth a little bit on trying to figure out what it is, and you say, you know what, hey, I'm gonna come out and take a look, and they say, oh yeah, sure, right? You know, and so you ping them in world, you IM them, and they teleport you in, and next thing you know, you land in a place where you're looking around going, leather padded walls, straps, whips, and chains, an unclothed avatar standing in front of you going, hi, welcome to my place, and yeah, here's where I'm having the problem. And so that sometimes happens. People teleport you in, and or they don't even think about it, and they're maybe not fully dressed, or whatever the case may be. But you know what? Hey, that's okay. We're all adults.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's one of the funniest thing as well, because as you mentioned, like two of your funny stories, actually quite interesting as well. That second life, that's with all of us, with the computer, with the internet connections, and funny things happen over here for sure.
Yep.
And literally, like some of the things which happen actually like throws you off. Like, can you even imagine this thing happening with us in real life? So
yes,
that's actually quite. In fact, I was actually thinking of one of the phrases that we use in Second Life. When you go AFK for a bit and come back, and people are like, "Oh, welcome back," right?
Right.
Imagine this in real life. So you walk out of the door and you come back in the room, and they're like, "Oh, welcome back."
Yep. We have teams, of course, being that we're very distributed. A lot of them are spread out all across various parts of the world, and even within the U.S. No one team is all in one place. So we all have, like our team chat rooms and such, where everybody chit chats and banters throughout the day, just as if you were sitting near each other in an office all day long. And that's something that I feel like, Second Life has really kind of empowered us as employees and such, and working for Linden Lab, kind of ahead of the pack of everybody, is that we kind of were used to like distributed and remote workforces before it was really even kind of a thing. So this goes all the way back to the beginning too. And we were kind of ahead of our time in that regard. And so we have our kind of own internal vernacular. It's like BRB LLR. Can you guess what that might mean?
BRB, be right back. LLR, later, like, no idea. Go on.
Little Linden's room.
Oh, okay. So what is the Linden's room?
Yep, BRB LLR, going to the little Linden's room. So that's when somebody needed to step away to go use the restroom and such. That was kind of and is still kind of part of our internal vernacular. And then of course when you come back, you say back, and everybody does the whole FTP thing. So yes, very similarly, we do that too.
That's amazing. I love that. I love the
LLR.
It's amazing. That's very banterish, and that's very chit-chatty atmosphere you maintain at the Linden Labs then. Great, awesome.
Yep.
So tell me, like, what does a typical day in your shoes look like?
Oh boy. So I get up in the morning. I have my couple of cups of coffee. I usually at some point then sit down and kind of check in on what's happened overnight, the grid and such. And I kind of look at my schedule for the day to see what's going on. Now, mind you, this is sometimes at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning for me. So I get up really early, and I basically, as part of my daily routine, I check in on Second Life first. See what's going on, see what happened overnight. The morning kind of starts off with that routine, and then I grab my shower and get dressed. One of the most important things I feel that anybody doing any kind of remote work, should always do is kind of maintain a routine. And I've always lived by that too. So I, like I said, get up and I go through this routine, have my coffee, I grab my shower, I get dressed like as if I'm going to go to an office. And then I sit down in my office in my home, which is, where my desk and computer and everything is for work. And then I actually start work, so now it's, 8 o'clock in the morning. And then I work through the day, and usually my day consists of many meetings. Many meetings where I have meetings in World. I thoroughly enjoy being able to get in World to do my meetings. I'll log in ahead of time and kind of get ready for that. Where I have little breaks in time, that's when I try to get out and do other fun and interesting things like visit resident regions, experiences, or go shopping, catch up on the latest rounds of what's going on with the various monthly sales, check out places that are kind of new and up and coming. I tend to rely on our destination guide quite a bit for those sorts of places to go take a look at. Probably lastly, depending on what's going on with the day, most of this typically happens after I'm kind of technically off work. I dive into doing photo stuff. Many people know I have a fairly active FLICKR. I try to keep it, busy and fun and light. And such, and so I'll take some time, maybe in the very early morning or in the really to do some photo work and such to post to FLICKR. So basically, it's up in the morning, have coffee, meetings all day long, and or little breaks in between. I try to go shopping or do whatever I can in World, and then in the evening, it's have dinner, spend some time with the family, maybe work on some photo stuff, and rinse and repeat.
Love the idea that, that you have a bit of a balance of your routine of having like a meeting and then, in between just dodging out to just get have some pictures taken as well. I think I love the aspect of having pictures and photography on Second Life. I think that's just kind of a stress buster, you'd say. Would you say the same for yourself?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We have an enormous community and presence on FLICKR, for example, and so I feel like photography and virtual photo editing and things of that nature are a huge part of what the community loves to see and do.
I do follow your FLICKR as well, and oh boy, you have some very interesting shots for us. It's very right, and I do completely enjoy.
I try to mix things. It's kind of part personal. It's part letting people know what's going on, or like there's an event coming, or like a launch of Linden Homes or something of that nature, and some of it's purely pleasure and personal. Like I said, it also is a balance of various things that are going on.
I totally agree with you on that. And as you rightly pointed out, I think all of us are guilty of checking Second Life the first thing in the morning as soon as we open our eyes. Also, you being a Linden, like as you said, your schedule is packed with meetings, and the little breathing space you have, you go and dive into your creative side and take pictures. I think that really helps you keep saying enjoy Second Life, the way it is, have your entertainment spots, and also work like a Linden, so because Linden Labs is your work. So I think that's a really nice mix of your routine, and thank you so much for sharing that with us, Patch.
Yeah, and you've got to maintain some balance, right? Otherwise you'd probably go insane. And I don't know, maybe I'm partially insane already, but yeah, it's kind of a mix.
I think we all strive for that perfect balance, and if you're getting that, there's no stopping you then. The moles are part of your team, and they work hand in hand with you as part of your operations. So please give us a bit of a brief overview of the role of a mole on Second Life and specific areas of work you enjoy working with them, please.
Yeah, so the moles are residents as well, and where they come from, being residents. They're freelance contractors that back at the beginning of the mole program, it was a core of volunteers that approached Linden Lab, some ideas on how they could potentially work and help us to make improvements to the mainland and various other little projects like with the hubs and such as they were back in the day. Tight little group or core of volunteers started to kind of do that, and we worked with them, and they started to do some really wonderful things, and we said, hey guys, we don't want to take advantage of you. You're putting in so much time and doing all this great stuff that we want to go ahead and reward you for your efforts. And so that's when the program then kind of turned into a freelancer contractor type of arrangement. So it is a paid position that are spread out all over the world, and we have various kind of groups or sub teams or specialized individual moles that do various things. There's 43 of them on the team, as a matter of fact, and there's a group of them that handles our quality assurance work. There's a few of them that do project management type stuff, and they're the ones who actually kind of keep track of everything we work. There's a handful of them that do all of our content creation, right? So everything from building the houses to the flora and fauna to producing coffee cups, whatever it is that we may need from a content perspective. We have a group of them that specialize in that. There's a few that specialize in texture artistry, because everything we have to do generally has to be created in-house by us. And then we have moles who specialize in region decor, decoration, setup, and such that work on like the Linden Homes regions and getting them ready to roll out. Several animators. We have sound creation specialist on the team. So pretty much every aspect. Oh, and of course there's the group of scripters. I can't forget them. They're absolutely amazing. We pretty much have every kind of aspect. If you could think of a completed product in Second Life that requires all of those things, from being made in mesh to being textured to being animated to having sounds to having effects to having scripting that drives it all. We have various teams and or folks folks within the team of the moles that do all of that work. So it all kind of flows together in like one big giant conveyor belt of production. The experiences we build and create and the things that folks enjoy within Second Life that we've built for them. Kind of the entire team in a nutshell. The specific area that I particularly enjoy is being kind of the creative side of the team that comes up with the big ideas, brainstorms things, and when I kind of come up with an initial idea, like the new Linden Homes, for example, I'll say, hey guys, I've got this idea, and it's really big, and it come together with a plan on how to execute it, out it goes.
Wow, I think that's really impressive. I think having such a big team as well, and everyone's dedicated to their own little fields, I think, and when it all comes together, it's really, really worth it.
Oh, well, thank you so much for explaining that to us, Patch. I think quite recently, we all as residents got the chance to be surrounded by the group of people called moles at the Second Life's birthday. I was quite interested and quite fascinated. They were very much active during the Second Life's birthday recently, and I absolutely enjoyed, their company. I got to interact with a few of the moles, and they were very friendly, very warm, very informative, and I really feel that the structures they put out there, even the builds that they put out there, for us to see is really, really eye-capturing, very breathtaking, and very fascinating. So you can see right from in the structure that an idea that has come into implemented, the moles working on it together, from scripting to building to all sorts of things, and hey, we have a finished product at the Second Life's birthday for all the residents to enjoy. That's a perfect example of what team building and team working looks like.
Really,
yeah,
I think it's
sure.
really.
Yeah, you mentioned the birthday really quick. The moles up and decorating all of the regions that the birthday events took place in. There's a handful of moles who created the various specific elements, like the big stage regions and such. Right, those were built in house by a few of the moles. The team basically put that entire experience, and the other side of that, right, is the birthday shop and hop. Right, so the regions that were created for the shop and hop that now are going on to be a couple years old, were all created in-house by the moles.
They do a terrific job, I must say. And also, like, we could see the shop and hop, like how big it is, literally how big it is. Like, you start from a point and then by the end you're just like literally exhausted by just speaking about the Linden Homes patch. There are various themes in discussion about the Linden Homes, so can you give us a bit of a brief about any plans that you have for Linden Homes and any themes that you have in mind that you'd like to share with us, please?
When we launched the most recent theme that went out, we decided that we were going to make a little detour and we were going to revisit some of the prior themes that had already been launched and do a little bit of correction work and also some additions to those other themes. So some of the other themes are getting more house or home floor plans. For the traditional homes, for example, is getting another set of complementary homes that will be open floor concept type homes, so less walls and such on the interior. And overall, the traditional home theme is getting an update passed to modernize its control system to be more up to date with the more recent ones that we've had, with like the tinting control systems on the walls and such that, when we originally started with those, they didn't have that. So the traditionals are getting that. The Victorians are also getting an update pass with additional open style floor plans, the 4 new complete models of houseboats to choose from. So that'll be coming out pretty soon, before the end of the year, I'm hoping. And by the end of the year, we're hoping to get out what will be the first new theme that's going to cater partly to the new Premium Plus account type. In the sense that it can leverage better the land space, so it'll be a larger, more spread out type of a home. Not necessarily going to chew up the whole yard just for the sake of it, but we can toy with larger footprint homes like open concept ranch houses. The ideas we discussed back at SL19B for one of the next themes to come. And we may also toy with allowing other themes that currently exist to have larger parcels. So right now, we're predominantly, using 1024 square meter parcels across most of the Linden Homes. Some of the themes have a smaller parcel variant in the 512 square meter size, and that's to accommodate for the folks who had like the older Linden Homes. with the older parcel size allotment. And so we'll also toy with allowing some of these other themes to have maybe 2048 square meter or 1536 square meter parcel sizes available to them as well, in sort of a mixed type of a region. So we'll see. We've got a lot of stuff up our sleeves and some additional themes to potentially tease out for next year to also kind of play into that.
That's really exciting news, and thank you so much for sharing that. We look forward for the new themes, and definitely what you've explained so far and of the other interview that you were part of, I think it really creates the buzz, and I think we all are eagerly waiting for that as well. Next question I'd like to ask you, Patch, is the introduction of mesh avatars. Now, would you say this will force mesh body creators to upgrade their services and mesh models, or will it still be compatible with other mesh bodies we get on Second Life?
I imagine you're speaking to the mesh avatars that we are currently working on. So the new user starter mesh avatars, basically. I don't know if we will have any kind of effect on the current mesh body creators. Always try to consider, this is me in that I'm a resident, I was a former content creator position mindset. I'm sensitive to the fact that I'm not trying to bring something here to market to be in competition with, the other creators out there on the grid. The other creators out on the grid have fantastic products. They all are unique and stand for themselves in their own various ways. There's all sorts of different bodies and heads and shapes and sizes that they come in and such. And so we're just taking one particular approach to that to give people a starter mesh avatar with an updated appearance and set of clothing and everything to go with it, coming into the ecosystem already kind of having set up for this, right? So it won't be such a foreign and jarring concept to them after they come in and they are, in what is today's newbie avatar, and they, have to rise to that challenge of understanding the concept of, switching into something mesh so that they, they don't look out of place against everybody else. So that's something I'm sensitive to in that regard too, is, when new users come into Second Life, one of the feedback items we get is, I don't look like everybody else, or I don't look like I thought I was going to be able to look like. Trying to solve for that, and I'm trying to be delicate to how to solve for that, in the sense that, again, we're going to create an ecosystem that will hopefully position everything with regards to mesh bodies and heads and content and such in general to just be easier for case, where if people already know it and understand it and can consume it easier than they currently do, that can only in my mind lead to good things down the road for everybody involved. That's kind of the goal, right? That's the problem we're trying to solve, and the goal for which we're trying to reach for by doing what we're doing.
I definitely see your point there, Patch. Thank you so much for explaining to us.
A lot of confusion around that has now been cleared. I believe definitely starting a new ecosystem and having that sustainability is very important.
I did happen to see the mesh avatar that you spoke about in the episode for meeting the moles at this SL 19th birthday interview, and they look quite lifelike, I must say.
Yeah, the team has spent a lot of time on, again, we're just trying to walk kind of down the middle and say, like, what is going to be an initial good starting point? And there will be more, but what's a good initial starting point for us to approach this from? So, between the initial set of bodies and the initial set of heads, the initial set of hairstyles, the initial set of clothing options, and of course we will also release development kits so that, other creators and such can jump on board and create for it if they wish. So that's kind of what we want to put out there. We want to put out easy to get into system from a new user's perspective, to have a reasonably updated and good looking, to our standards, right, in Second Life, and to our standards, a reasonably good and updated looking avatar. Come in and enjoy Second Life and not be so worried about how or why they look so much different from everybody else.
Definitely makes a lot of sense, and it really would bridge that gap, as you mentioned. So we are eagerly waiting and looking forward for that as well. And I'm sure the new residents joining in would be overjoyed because they would, have a mesh avatar with them. Having that mesh avatar in the initiation, and then, joining in the grid again and exploring, I think that's going to be one of the perks as well. So I think I'm really excited for that as well, really.
Yeah,
so thank you for that.
Yeah, I think one of the most exciting features to it too, and I don't want to get too long here, because it's going to be the web avatar creator. Is going to be really cool. You'll be able to sign up for an account, come into Second Life, use a web tool to basically kind of create your initial avatar appearance, and then log into Second Life for the first time in that appearance that you just created on the website. It's going to be super cool.
Oh wow, so that really cuts off the time for you to come and hunt for things. Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. So the next question, I think we would jump into a more serious kind of a technical questions patch. Are you ready?
I think so. Let's try it.
All right, let's start. Okay, so these are more specifically targeted towards creators and businesses on Second Life, and some of the questions are from their side as well. Okay, so the very first question, Pat, to you is, so the biggest announcement for the recent SLP 19th birthday was the Premium Plus, and I think it got many heads turned, especially for creators. So far that I've heard really positive reviews on the take of the Premium Plus for creators, and especially, the perk, the icing on the cake was the 0 charges on uploads. Really, I think that got a lot of creators very, very happy. So do you plan on having just a dedicated package for just creators in the future at all? Because I think these perks are really, really important for them.
So it's something we have thought about. Certainly something we could do going forward. Right now we're just generally kind of focused on Premium Plus in itself and how it currently exists and its current package of benefit features and such, to make sure that people feel like value that they're getting out of it is a threshold I feel like we will cross, where we could potentially put some set of features into an offering like that, and it certainly potentially does become most valuable to content creators, and perhaps that's when we then approach it from that perspective. And who knows, maybe it's a parallel offering, and maybe some things are turned down a little and some things are turned up a little bit over there on the features that are available, and maybe it costs the same, or maybe it doesn't. I don't know. We haven't quite gotten that far down into those sorts of discussions, but we certainly do have the concept on the table internally, and it's something we talk about frequently. Either add to the current offering as it stands right at this moment, or add to another offering that might benefit content creators, or maybe benefits folks who engage in social activities more, or vice versa, right? So there's quite a few different pathways there that we potentially see going into the future. I just don't think we've solidified on any of them yet.
Okay, I think that's fair enough. It's good to know that it's quite in the talks right now, and there is something, if at all in the future, that we would expect something out of that, really. The next question I'd like to ask you what is Second Life's take on job opportunities in world, as more and more people are quitting their real life job for Second Life jobs? Given the trends over the years, in your opinion, do you think this move is quite sustainable for people?
I got started in Second Life. We'll kind of go back to that conversation for a quick moment. Within a year of me getting started and growing my Second Life business and brand, I was already starting to have the thoughts myself. So this was probably back around 2005. What does this mean for my current day job and what I was doing in real life? 6 more months goes by from that point when I started to first kind of have that thought, and I basically said to myself, if I'm gonna try to make it big, I need to go ahead and part from the real life job and focus all of my efforts into my Second Life content creation business. And that's what I did. I believe also that was part of the reason brought me as much success as it did. I was fully focused on Second Life at that point. Right, exactly. And so like other people coming into Second Life, I feel like they can potentially find the same sorts of opportunities, whether they're working for somebody within Second Life, and helping them create, or creating for or with them, maybe in a partnership, or even doing it on their own. I do feel that those opportunities exist.
Thank you so much for that, Patch. And I think that's very much reassuring for people, in the tangent, in the middle, with having these confusions with should I or should I not, or should I take the leap towards a virtual, platform, or should I just stick to my day job? Clears the confusion right there. And thank you so much for explaining that. Having you yourself being a creator and having that sustainable job, I think that gives inspiration to a lot of other people to just hang in there, and slowly that would be sustainable for you as well. So thank
Right.
you for that. So the next big question is Second Life's comparison to metaverse, and that has always been in the talks, in the recent times. Personally, what is your take on it, and what aspects of metaverse you find attractive, you wish existed or could exist in Second Life? Are there any plans as such to implement those, please?
We're dissimilar enough, in my opinion, that it's kind of an unfair comparison. They are a VR-centric platform that is claiming to be a metaverse, which, metaverse in my definition, isn't one thing. It's not Facebook's meta. It's all things that can basically create virtual worlds and bring them together. When I think of direct comparisons, I feel like we don't compare well to many other things out there. They're VR centric, right? Toyed with VR and experimented with VR in Second Life, and we currently don't have it. And then there's other platforms like VR Chat and Roblox and all sorts of others, right? And they are all different in their unique ways, all at the same time have their own interesting features and pull or draw to them in their own unique ways. Comparison directly challenging for me, right? I don't like to necessarily jump out there and say, oh, well, we're better than them because of this and that, right? And you can do that all day long. So the way I like to think of it more is like all of us put together is an all boats rise type of a situation. We all come together and make up the metaverse, and everyone will basically sort themselves out.
Would you say marketplace spending trends have decreased as the wave for more new events have swept across Second Life? With the rising increase in weekend shopping sales or events, residents wait till the weekend to shop their favorite stores and then the full price on marketplace, or some of the discounted price that they're not. Correct me if I'm wrong, or is it quite the opposite that you see from your end?
It really kind of depends. I have seen the effects of when something like a really big weekend sale or content creator has some really big event or something of that nature does tend to maybe pull a little bit more in the way of sales into being in world. Not super noticeable, the marketplace, and like when I watch the numbers on the marketplace, because one of the things I do is I pay very close attention to volume and sales trends and things like that on the marketplace as a whole, and also the Lindex. What I do tend to see is as I see that activity, and we do actually measure that activity in world in the form of the GDP for Second Life overall, and I will see little like upticks and things like that take place when those sorts of events happen, and then I'll also see like increased spending taking place on the Lindex, and I might see a small decrease in some marketplace sales. It all still tends to kind of balance out.
Right. Okay. So nothing that too noticeable from your end.
Not hugely. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I can see it, right? Because I like really watch those numbers closely, so I know, hey, that event's going on, and so I see a little bit of a decrease here, but it's not like huge.
Okay, that is quite an interesting point as well. Thank you so much for that. Because I think residents, for our point of view, I think things are on full price on the marketplace, and then you get discounted price on those weekend shoppings and all those weekend sales events. So I think that's quite the discrepancy. Thank you for clearing that out for us.
Well, like I said, it's still a positive because I do see the additional sales in world on top of what would have normally.
Okay, Patch, so very quickly wrapping up day one of our interview, my last question is based around event regions. Now that's quite a big one, and you witnessing one of such. It was our sponsor's event for 𝐏𝐀𝐄. You were there with 231 avatars at one point at one space, without lagging and with fairly high graphic settings as well. So do you think events like such would only require this feature of a bigger space for only 1 or 2 weeks and not the whole entire month? And is the price justified on those events, or do we see any custom packages made for events like such or shopping events like such which happen every month?
Yeah, so potentially, right? So first of all, recently readdress and adjust the pricing for the offering of event regions. In fact, you remember we came out with it at an introductory rate. and then it was supposed to increase, and we decided to not do that. We decided to go ahead and keep that at the introductory rate with that set of features, and then we kind of brought out a slightly modified version of the event regions, kind of like an event regions light, as it were, for a slightly lower cost. And it has a few less features, but some that you can also get a la carte. Like, for example, and the feedback that we got was like, people were like, I don't necessarily rely on our ability to be able to roll back the region as much as I want. Why does that have to be in there, right? And so my reaction, being that I, oversee land as a product within Second Life, was okay. Well, I mean, I'm okay with offering a similar product with less cost, and removing that feature if that's what the feedback really is kind of telling us. And so that's what we did. We adjusted some of that. With the product offering is to potentially look at offering it as a short type of availability. So like in the case of 𝐿10, right, they own their regions. She'd come to us and, for example, upgrade the region to an events region for a short duration of time, for a particular cost, and then, downgrade it back. I don't think 2 to 3 days. I mean, 2 to 3 days may work for some events. An event like 𝐿10 typically sees sustained, decent, reasonable traffic for at least a week. And the benefit that has is not just in the experience that you would have walking around within the region, which is kind of what I described and you mentioned, but it's also like vendor performance and such, and script performance. Things run a lot faster on these particular region hosts, so that transactions occur with a lot less error because the scripts are processing at a much higher rate of speed and faster and more reliable. It also potentially reduces your cost in a sense, whereas a lot of these really big regions, like Access and such, and 𝐿10, they have this notion of these cam shopping regions. Cam shopping regions, we've actually found, are fairly detrimental to the performance of the region that they're attached to, because it uses a lot of that region's resources to send and stream all of that visual information and data across the region borders to all of the people standing in the outlying regions. Segregated experience by providing wing regions or cam regions off to the sides to just allow people to cam shop across the border. And that's actually killing the main region's performance even worse than what it was if they hadn't been there. So there's this balance, right? Where like you maybe don't have to fight anymore. You can just pay for one region and combine all of those costs into one. Is it still a net expense, as in when you take the 3 of those regions and costs and combine them? And is it still a little more expensive? Yes. But you're also getting a region that runs a lot better than the 3 of them combined. That's why we did it.
And that perfectly makes sense now. Now that you've told us, it depends on like the event regions and the neighboring regions as well. And I think, as you rightly pointed out, bigger events like Access or bigger events like 𝐿10, that really requires a lot of crowd, really. That is sustainable for a week. I think they would benefit more from that as well, for sure.
And when I think of other really popular stores for content creators and such in general, folks that have kind of a constant stream of, let's say, 15 to 20 people at a time at any given time. And if you ever hang out in those regions and listen to what people say, just in the events to take place when people come and go and they're shopping and such, whether that's in voice or in text chat, people will say, it's so painful to shop here because things take so long to res and it takes forever to walk around and this, that, and the other. And it's like, if your shopping experience isn't great, no matter how great of a content creator you are, you're still potentially going to create issues with your customers if they can't have a fluid and pleasant shopping experience. So if I were a super popular content creator, I might consider, if I heard that complaint, mind you, out of my customers, to do something about it. And mind you, there's a lot of different ways to go about that. This also could potentially be a solution for that. It's not just events.
Yes, absolutely. I think I totally agree with that. And with the whole shopping experience, I think it definitely does impact residents. I think if there's an increased lag at certain point because everyone is trying to get into that region, or if the region is full because it's just launched recently, any event. I think that really creates a lot of negative experience for the residents, of course, the ones who could not make it to the region or who have made it to the region and, lagging behind or struggling with their computers. I think having this sort of a functionality with the event regions really boosted up, the space that the event could be held at, and also I think give a lot of advanced topic experience, you can say, to the residents, and I think that makes both of our lives easier, right? From an events owner's point of view, because they want traffic, they want the customers to come and have a normal shopping experience, and from the residents' points of view as well, that they would have an enjoyable one without without having that rubber banding experience, really.
Right, exactly. Yep, and it's kind of my assumption that the more pleasant and smooth the shopping experience is, the more money people may be willing to spend.
I totally agree with that, actually. That is actually a good point. It is more about the ambience or the excitement for the shopping. You can go to any store at any time, but the actual launching of the product right there and then, I think that's what creates the buzz. And I think that was the last question for today. So we're done with today.
Yes. Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Patch, for that.
Thank you. All right. Well, we will see you all tomorrow morning.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
We will continue our conversation with Patch for day 2 of this episode, where we get up close and personal as Patch answers some of your questions too. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Also, look out for special giveaway announcements in the next episode. Thank you to our today's hair sponsor, literally. Also, thank you to all our sponsors on board: Green Story, Parallel Universe Productions, Sunnystudios, Tomcast Streams, SL Book, Hands-on Care Maternity Clinic, Paragon Dance Animations, Black Sand, FLICKR, Loft and Area, Bearded Guy, True Damage, Fake Society, Not Found, Alan Torrey, Boyberry, Pro Magic, Zara, Mosu, Skinnery, The Dubai Event, Dress Chic Event, Uber Event, Men's Selected Event, Do Hair, Lelutka, 𝐿10 Event, and Alpha and Access Event are premium sponsors. Also, thank you to our stage decoration team, Anil and Nicole. Also, a big shout out to Dior and Kay. I will see you in the next part of this episode coming very, very soon. Till then, stay virtual and God bless.